This is a daily devotional, so I'm going to start doing this. I'm not sure the format or how it's going to look, but this is the beginning of, we'll call it beta mode. So this is Dangerous Prayers. This comes from the Bible app, and this is day 1. This is the devotional portion. Why your prayers need to be dangerous. Like so many people, I struggled to pray consistently and effectively for years. Even with good intentions, I'd often get distracted or even bored when I prayed. As a young pastor, a friend of mine helped convince me there was time for a change. For too long, I had tolerated faithless prayers, but knew God wanted more for me, and I wanted to know Him more intimately. Hey, Craig, do you believe God still does miracles? Of course, I said. Good, because your prayers are so lame. I tried to laugh with him, but my friend's joke stung, mostly because he was right. Left speechless, I offered no defense as I processed the truth of his observation. I couldn't deny that his voiced a secret I already knew but didn't want to admit. My prayers were pathetic. This plan is for anybody who feels stuck in a prayer rut, praying repetitive, predictable, and safe prayers. We serve a God who can do more than we ask for or imagine, so it's time to stop playing it safe. We weren't created for a life of comfort. We are passionate and powerful, charged with changing the world in a radical way. I believe this plan will encourage you to break through the boundaries and will inspire you to pray dangerously and to live boldly. As I studied the Bible more, I marveled at the variety of prayers spoken by God's people. Not only did they pray about things that were incredibly personal, to conceive a child, for instance, 1 Samuel 1:27, but also their prayers were often so practical for food and provision, Matthew 6:11, and escape from their enemies, Psalms 59, 1 and 2. Sometimes they seemed to gently whisper to a loving God. Other times they yelled at him in agony and frustration. That's so true. That's so true. Especially with David, man. You have David going like, some people call him the bipolar author because it seemed like he would just bounce back and forth between like giving praise to God and being like, God, why? Why? Their prayers were honest, desperate, fiery, gutsy, real, and there I was praying that God would keep me safe and bless my burgers and fries. My friend was right. My prayers were lame. Maybe you can relate. It's not that you don't believe in prayer, but do. It's not that you don't believe in prayer, you do, but you're stuck in a rut. You pray about the same struggles and the same... Sorry, my work phone is ringing. Please stand by. Please stand by for 1 second. I carry 2 phones. It's an absolute curse. Where was I? You pray about the same struggles and the same requests in the same way, at the same time. If you even try to pray at all, you probably know you should pray more. And with more passion, more faith, you want to talk to God and to listen to Him, to share an intimate conversation like you would with your spouse or best friend. You really want to, but aren't sure how. So your prayers remain safe, flat, dull, predictable, stale, and boring. My friend's wake-up call convinced me that it was time for a change in my prayer life. For too long, I had tolerated lackluster, faithless, and mostly empty prayers. I knew God wanted more for me, and I wanted to know Him more intimately, despite my hesitation about what it would require of me. When we are seeking to communicate with God in real, vulnerable, and intimate prayer, He's not wrapping us in a bubble of spiritual safety. Instead, He bursts out our what's in it for me bubble and invites us to trust Him when we don't know what He will do next. Some days we feel blessed. Other days we face challenges, opposition, and persecution. But every moment of dangerous prayer will be filled with His presence. Are you ready for more? Are you sick of playing it safe? Are you ready to pray daring, faith-filled, God-honoring, life-changing, world-transforming prayers? If you are, then this Bible plan is for you. But be warned, there will be bumps. When you start to pray things like, search me, break me, send me, you may experience valleys, attacks, trials, pain, hardship, discouragement, even heartbreak. But there will also be the joy of faith, the marvel of miracles, the relief of surrender, and the pleasure of pleasing God. It's time to stop playing safe. It's time to start talking, and really listening to God. So that's the devotional text. And then you go into a couple of verses they provide you. So the first one here is from, 1 Samuel 1. For this child I prayed, and the Lord has granted me my petition that I made to Him. Next prayer is, the Lord's Prayer. Classic. Pray then like this, Jesus said. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our debts as we have also forgiven our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Does anybody else grow up Catholic? I grew up Catholic, and whenever I read the Lord's Prayer and it's not like exactly how I learned it, it like weirds me out. It bugs me out because it was so ingrained in my head. Going to church, serving in church as a Catholic, and I was in Catholic school for a long time. So I don't know if anybody can relate to that, but that's me. Next one comes from Psalm, I hate that it goes away. Psalm 59. Deliver me from my enemies, O God. Protect me from those who rise up against me. Deliver me from those who work evil, and save me from bloodthirsty men. Last one. This is Psalm 34. When the righteous cry for help, the Lord hears and delivers them out of all their troubles. So, what's the takeaway? I feel like there's a lot of takeaway here. Being that it's the beginning of a devotional, being that this is going to be relatively long, so I believe they're 5 or 6 days. I don't think they do 7. I'll figure out how exactly we're going to do this, but beginning this one, Dangerous Prayer, if anybody wants a really good book that has kind of this general theme of how Christianity should be dangerous. It should not be safe. And if your faith is extremely safe, then in my opinion, you're doing something wrong. And maybe that's the wrong way to say it. Maybe it's just that you're missing something, that you're lacking something. There should be hesitation. You should feel some kind of fear. You should have apprehension because these things should be dangerous. So going into this devotion of prayer over the next handful of days, really try to take an inventory and maybe even write it down of ways your prayer life is lacking, things you feel like you could be doing better. And maybe what emotions do you feel when you pray? If they're bland emotions, if they're bored, which isn't really an emotion, but if you feel bored, or you feel like you're not connecting to God, like you're kind of just reciting words and, thank you for this and thank you for that. And I'm definitely guilty of it sometimes. My daughter and I pray every night, and there's some nights I'm really tired and my prayers are lame, just like he's saying. They're very lame. It's just for, the same rudimentary stuff. I'm not praying dangerously with my daughter on those nights that I'm tired. And then, I noticed that later on. And I think if that's you, try to actually write an inventory. Write a short sheet of what you feel about your prayers, where you feel that they're lacking, and maybe some things that you can improve on. Maybe write some things that you want to pray on that are dangerous, that are cultural, because we live in a very sick cultural time right now. Maybe that have to do with your family, that you're afraid to pray. But I believe what he was saying in the devotional, that this is dangerous. And once you start to pray with serious oomph behind it, you are exposing and opening yourself up to retribution from the enemy. You're opening yourself up to being seen as a liability, as being seen as someone dangerous, someone risky for what the enemy is doing. And if that's not you, then you're not praying dangerously enough. So try to think about that as we kind of go into this. I'm going to post these every day for the next, whatever it is, 5 to 7 days. I don't remember how many days they do. And then we're going to talk about it afterward every time. If you want to add anything to this, leave a comment, and this will improve as time goes on. I'll figure out, I'll get a groove. We'll get this all settled out so it's something good. So I do the daily verse just very, very quick while I'm driving to work. And then I want to also do this that's more in-depth, more connective, and I'd like to get some conversation going out of this. So I hope this helped in some way. I hope this has made you think. But try to actually do this intentionally. Anybody who's going to follow along with this, let's actually do this.